Okay, hello gamers, how's everyone doing? I'm just coming at you with another video on, this time it's just on, um, let's speed this up fully, sorry. It's just on map presence and kind of expansion. I just kind of want to talk about the differences between like kind of like 2K and 2K and beyond. And what we can learn from it, and like what maybe some of you can start trying to incorporate into your play. But this video is quite kind of a broad video on a lot of stuff like just natural expansion, like your kind of aims in the mid to late game, and like kind of once you understand those aims, you can start working on them, trying to improve them. Yeah, this is not a video though where like you'll watch it and there'll be like one epic tip that will turn you into some kind of 2K3 player, but it is one of those things that if you try and gradually implement some of the stuff into your game, you will see improvements and you will see like your late game get better. So yeah, we're just gonna speed through the Dark Age because not a whole lot happens. I do Drush, but we don't get much damage with it. And my opponent goes for Men at Arms, but they don't really go for Men at Arms. They just kind of fight my Drush, and that's kind of all that happens. So just a little bit of context as well. Alperin is around 1900 2K, and I'm around 2K2. So I think this game is a great example of like what some of the issues that like some 2K players have. And the thing I want to talk about as well this game is this kind of idea of like staying in your walls all game. And it's gonna be something that we see Alperin do, and it's not something that necessarily that every 2K player struggles with. Like obviously everyone's different. And I'm not even sure that Alperin necessarily struggles with it, but it's one of those things that I see a hell of a lot. Is that people will build their walls, and in this case, Alperin does a really nice wall. He walls like over here, and he walls like across here. But the problem is he never actually moves out from his walls. And I'm just gonna use this game as a kind of it's not like I'm not saying that Alperin always plays like this, that he never takes map control, blah blah blah. It's just one of those things that I can kind of see as a general trend, from like I guess like from any elo up to like 2K plus, like you see this happen where people kind of tunnel vision in their base. They don't take extra map control on the map, and they kind of just get stuck with like 20% on the map, and then late game they tend to like lose, or both players will not take map control, so like games become quite long. So I just wanted to show you like what the difference is and what you need to be looking out for when you do get to the late game. So again, not a whole lot is going on, just a little bit of skirmishing. Let's put this so we can see the villager count. Again, I have actually changed my scroll speed for this video, so you guys should not get nausea from watching it, hopefully. Because I realized last time that the scroll speed was super high for what I was doing, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I didn't want to jump straight into like the 20-minute mark, 25-30-minute mark, because I think it's nice to at least have some context, so we're just speeding up. I just wanted to show you the start because again, not much happens. I just wanted to show you guys that the position was basically completely even, and the only thing that I do this game is kind of subtle, like foundational stuff that he just doesn't do. And these things, like the subtle things, they really do add up, especially if you're like much better than someone at some other like subtle things, like economic management, like map presence, map expansion, like having a nice game plan. Okay, so the first thing we see here, let's slow down because we can actually start analyzing the game. Okay, so this is something that I think is really important in your game plan. I think I made a video recently about crossbow against crossbow, and I talked about, again, in the mid game you need a castle defensively. I mean, obviously crossbow against knight is a little bit different, but in case we get all in, we're building this castle on the hill. And we're going to see, this is where I think we see a divergence in both players, because at this point we see one player, which is me, play very directly for the map control in the middle, and on the sides and the outsides, and we see kind of Alperin not really have a clear game plan, and I think this is kind of the difference of like of level between the two players, is that because I have obviously a lot more experience, like I know what I need to do in the mid game to constitute a decent advantage. So even though it's a bit sloppy here, like we're gonna lose a lot here, we're gonna take a little bit too much damage. But this is the point where I think, again, even Alperin's even a little bit ahead, but I'm a little bit ahead than KD, so I think the game is pretty even. Yeah, again, at this point, this is where the two players start diverging in their game plan. Again, I have a very crisp game plan. I'm going to play for this hill, like we already see I'm posturing for it. I'm also contesting the relics, because obviously I'm against Lithuanians, you have to contest the relics. And again, we're going to have a look. So we're going to see, okay, at this point, I'm already expanded out here. I've already taken one important hill in front of my map. I'm going to take another one. And if we have a look at the inverse, what is Alperin doing to take map control, right? Again, we have, if we go to his POV, again, just building up the economy. Again, low numbers of knights. No real plan to take any important hills. No real plan to do any like big economic damage. He's just sitting there and booming without any kind of direction. And we're going to see that this entire game, he barely ever moves out of this like one corner that he's built for himself, right? Whereas me, I'm the total opposite. Again, you have to be a complete opportunist when you play this game. As soon as your opponent, gives you any potential to take, large amounts of map control, you just have to take it. It's just simply how the game works. A lot of the skill difference between players, some of it will be like decision-making stuff that is, quite tricky, but some of it is, and a lot of it is honestly just like foundational. I can, build more units. I can build up a better economy. I can take important parts of the map sooner, and that's going to enable me to win the game. And I think we see this game how these kind of fundamentals of map control can snowball into victories. Because again, like I'm saying, I have a few more villagers now, but I think I'm going to lose them, or I'm going to lose this castle. So I mean, like I said, the position is completely even. Let's just speed this up a little bit. So we get this castle down. So again, we can already see, right? Red didn't really know what to do in the mid game. Maybe they didn't know what to do, but they didn't have like the most precise plan. And so now I've got this hill. I think Red realized at this point, okay, this hill is really important, but he couldn't. Like I said, he wasn't playing for that map control in the middle to begin with. So you can't really just opportunistically deny a castle if you've not built enough army to take the map presence, right? Okay, so yeah, again, my game plan very clear. Take the middle, defend my base, expand on the map, get to my unique unit, right? But let's have a look at what Red's doing again. We are not seeing any like outward expansion, right? We're not seeing any focus on like middle map control. And again, this is one of the problems with this kind of like 2K level. And it's honestly 2K from below, I think. I think once you start getting like 2K1, 2K2, I think these problems start to fade away because people understand how important it is to like contest the map. Obviously there'll be like varying levels. When I was 2K, I think I would say this was quite a big issue for a lot of players. Okay, so if we look, let's go back to my PV because obviously I want to show you guys the difference. Again, I have macroed a little bit better as well, so there is a kind of small skill gap there. But again, this is more just about showing how you set yourself up for the late game. Okay, again, look, this is a terrible castle. I didn't actually have vision, this is my bad. But we can see the intent, right? We can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to like secure my like later wood and secure this part of the map. Obviously, we know in hindsight this is a terrible castle, but the logic behind this castle is very sound. And again, let's have a look at the inverse, right? This castle very defensive in his walls, like. I mean, obviously it's nice to give yourself some defense, but again, because he didn't play for these hills, because he didn't have a clear plan of map control in the castle stage, again, he's building an inferior castle that can just be chopped down immediately. Yeah, again, if we have a look, okay, TC over here, again, expanding on the map. If we have a look, there should be an outpost coming up over here soon, and I'm going to build a castle over there. If we have a look, I'm expanding to the woodlines in the middle. I'm not just taking these woods in the back. And the reason this expansion is really important, by the way, is because a lot of late game will simply, especially if it goes later, will just be determined by who has the most resources, who secured the gold, the neutral resources first, here's the outpost, and who has the most wood, right? And the way you get the resources is simply by taking map control, like expanding on the map, building castles. Again, if you are one of those players that kind of tunnel visions in their base, then this is something you need to work on. Simply because, again, late game, you just need to set yourself up really nicely for, to have the map presence, right? And honestly, like I said, this game, the only reason, one of the main reasons I win is because I do this, right? And you can win a lot of games simply by doing this, so this is why it's so important. It's unfortunately, it's not one of those things, like I said, that you can just do in like 5 seconds. You can't, just think, hey, I'm going to take the map control every game from now on. Like, you can't do that. What you have to do is you have to have like a kind of a gradual process. Like, okay, this game I'm gonna make sure, I build some outposts on the map, and I'm gonna build some TCs on neutral resources, and I'm gonna build some castles on neutral resources. And all you have to do is you have to keep thinking every time you get into these situations, like how can I do better? What did I do wrong last time? And how can I, take better map control this game? And we're just gonna see. Okay, so if we have a look, let's pause here. So I'm building a castle on this neutral resource over here. I'm taking this one over here. I have a TC over here. I have all the middle control. And yeah, I've got another TC expanded out over here to defend my third gold. And let's have a look at the inverse, right? We've got 2 defensive castles. And again, no expansion, nothing outside of the map, nothing at all, right? Honestly, this to me demonstrates like a fundamental difference in kind of game plan, thinking ahead, and also skill as well. Because again, you have to have in your head a plan to take as much map control as possible most of the time. And if you don't, you're kind of booming to a position where you can then retake map control if you lose it through some kind of like really strong timing. So like Goths, for example, can sometimes give up map control to retake it if you just have 140 vills and Goth spam, right? But most of the time you want to have a game plan that controls the map control in the middle game, like usually with a castle over here. Like we saw how I played for the map control in the middle, like red should have gone like, you know, either 4 knights or 4 skirms, something along those lines, and, you know, try to contest this. And then they should be expanding out here with like another town center. There should be, you know, stables coming up over here, you know, there should be like outposts over here. But the difference between the 2 players this game, again, is that kind of directional, you know, single-minded game plan. Hey, I'm going to take the map control, and then I'm going to expand. And again, like I said, this is not something that's going to catapult you to 2K3. You know, it's going to take you time to learn and work on. But it is one of those things that is really, really important that you start focusing on. You know, like just again, like think in your head. You know, what is the kind of fundamental aspect of any strategy game? It's honestly just, you know, taking map control, you know, building units, you know, having presence everywhere, and especially in the late game, the places that you really need to focus on are just neutral resources, and if the game goes quite late, it's wood. And yeah, okay. So just to conclude there, I just want to kind of re-emphasize some important points. So remember, when you're getting to the late game, to move outside your walls, don't be afraid to build TCs on wood and neutral resources. Make sure you're building castles, first of all, to protect your map and your farming economy, but also to contest the neutral resources. And like I said, just make sure we're not tunnel visioning, you know, in our little box-like base. Make sure we're always, as part of our game plan, is to take the map control, you know, not give it to your opponent for free, and then use that map control to send yourself an economic lead, you know, get more gold. You know, use these positions like over here, like to raid your opponent with buildings, you know, or simply just to prevent them from expanding to woodlands. And if you start doing this, if you start working this into your game, you will start finding that your late games will start getting better, and you'll probably understand, you know, maybe why. If you are struggling with late game, maybe this is why. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. That's gonna be it. If you have any questions, please do throw them in the comments. And yeah, that's all for this video.